Hey Moon Magic Super Souls, welcome to your Moon Energy Update and Happy New Year's. We are about to enter 2025. It's one of the most unprecedented years ever astrologically. There's so much happening, it's untrue. So these energy updates I hope will be of real value to you. If you find that things are getting a little bit intense, which they may well do, just check in because I'll give you the lay of the land, and it's really helpful to know if there's a spike of energy that's really, really intense. It's really helpful to know when it's going to end, just so that you can kind of like just re-anchor yourself, get grounded again. So I hope these energy updates will be really, really valuable. January 2025, the next moon month, which begins with a new moon in Capricorn, has got some pockets of quite intense energy coming, but it's also really loaded with possibility. You know, with energy, it's never the energy, it's what we do with it, how we respond to it, which is why being conscious of the incoming flow of energy is really, really valuable. So in this video, I'm going to run through the different moon phases through this moon month. I'm going to talk you through the energy, the incoming energy. I'm going to let you know where there are some long void of course moon periods as well. A void of course is when the moon moves from one zodiac sign to another and there's a space in between. So her energy isn't being channeled through the personality of a sign. And if there's a particularly long one, sometimes that can be really liberating and sometimes it can make you feel like you're a bit out at sea. There's actually 3 long void of course periods in this moon month, so I will let you know when they are. I also have a PDF that I send out with those void of course dates on them as well. So if you're on my mailing list, you can tune into that. It's just below in the description box. If you want to join that, I will send that PDF list of void of course timings out to you literally just before. I'm doing this video a little bit ahead of time because I'm going to take some time out over Christmas and New Year, but I will send that PDF out just prior to the beginning of the month. So you will get that in your inbox if you're on my email list. So beautiful souls, let's I should also say, I was going to say, let's shift the camera over to a different screen and let me talk you through the energy of the moon. I might bring up a couple of charts for you as well, just to kind of show you the dynamics, really, because we do have some quite intense energy coming. Although the new moon is actually fantastically gorgeous, it's like it really sets the pace for the new year. So I'll talk you through all this. I'm also then at the end of the video, I'm going to just check in on the cards and the runes that I drew for the Manifest with the Moon Astro-Moon Diary. You've got them there if you've got the diary, if you're using that. But they really do highlight what kind of energy we can expect for January 2025. So I think it's really worth touching base because it really helps us to kind of get a little bit of a flavour of what's coming and therefore to consider how we're going to respond to it. Remember, energy is energy. You know, I heard Steve Judd, one of my favourite astrologers, I have a lovely interview with him actually in my free library, my free online library. But I heard him say not long ago, you know, use the energy, don't let the energy use you. So Steve, I'm quoting you. It's a great quote though. Use the energy, don't let the energy use you. So let me bring up a slide here of our dates for the month. So these are the void of course periods that are particularly long. I've listed them all. You'll get this sheet if you're on my mailing list with all the void of course moons throughout the entire moon month. And there's also a link on that PDF as well to take you to like a time clock site so you can work out the exact timings in your location. The 3 that are particularly long are on January the 3rd, when the moon moves from Aquarius into Pisces. That's 11 hours long, so it's quite a long period. January the 16th, when the moon moves from Leo into Virgo, that's 12 hours. And then right at the end of the month, which actually aligns with the sort of the new moon energy, when we sort of start a fresh new moon month, this is on January the 30th, when the moon moves from Aquarius into Pisces, and it's another void of course period that is 11 hours long. So let's start by looking at the new moon. These are the moon phases that we are going to be looking at. We start with a new moon, then the waxing crescent, the first quarter, the waxing gibbus, the full moon, the waning gibbus, the third quarter or the last quarter, and then the waning crescent moon. And then we start afresh with another new moon. So a new moon. Our new moon that starts this new moon month is in Capricorn, and depending on where you are on our beautiful planet, this will be on December the 30th or the 31st. The energetics of this new moon are actually really gorgeous, and they kind of arrive like a breath of fresh air because we've had some really intense dynamics in the week, building up to this new moon. Now, the underlying dynamics are primed for renewal and rebirth, which is an amazing way to start the year. And this is flowing from a space of genuine desire that's rooted in both understanding and conscious awareness. It's really lovely. Now, this is a new moon that invites you to kind of energetically set the pace for the coming year of 2025. It's asking you not only to dream big, but dream bold and dream ambitious, and then be prepared to step up and follow through. Not just in the immediacy of now, but right through the coming year. Manifestation is not a process of just putting a request into the universe and then assuming it will arrive. Manifestation involves having an awareness that there's a bigger picture, and also having an awareness of your personal interconnectedness with all of life. And then, alongside placing your requests into the universe, we kind of need to embody the very essence of everything that we want to manifest for ourselves and everything we want to see in the world. And then, while consistently upholding these core values, we can simultaneously open ourselves to receive. I mean, this is a moon that really says get to it. Let me just bring up the timings onto the screen. Now, the value of knowing a time for a new moon is because a new moon is a sacred marriage. It's when the moon and the sun come together. And so the energy is really primed for setting wishes and intentions because it's a point of fertility. A sacred marriage of the masculine and the feminine, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Beautiful souls, I did do a live webinar about a week ago about how to manifest with the moon. I'm going to put a link to that webinar. It's live on. It's still available to watch on YouTube. It's a recording of that. You're welcome to check in with it because I really do talk through the ins and outs of the energy of the different moon phases. Really, really worth checking that out if you're passionate about manifesting with the moon. So let's move on to the next moon phase. So this is when we move to the crescent moon, the waxing crescent. Now we have that big void of course moon for 11 hours on January the 3rd. And the waxing crescent moon is moving from Capricorn into Aquarius, into Pisces, and then into Aries. And this is running from pretty much December the 31st through to January the 5th. So let me tell you a little bit about the dynamics of this one. So January does have some pretty intense and dynamic, quite spiky energy in it. And in this moon phase, the lunar influence is pushing for expansion and forward momentum. The overall flow of energy highlights strength of ambition and wanting to get things going. However, there's also an underlying energetic of potential discord with possible conflicts of interest or even some clashes of ego around your desires. Now, as this moon phase progresses, there's also the potential for some significant spiritual downloads that could open your awareness. However, if this stretches you out of your comfort zone, then it could feel a bit overwhelming or even confusing. Now, I think the key to your success in this incoming energy sits in integrity, holding the higher perspective and remaining really grounded. So keep your cool, hold the higher ground, and approach this period as a space of growing through ever-increasing mindful awareness. I'm just going to bring up a chart actually for you. Let me screen share this for a moment. Right, so here we have that chart, and if you have a look here, this is one of the really big underlying really big underlying sort of strong dynamics here. This is Pluto opposite Mars. Now, we experienced Pluto opposite Mars back in November. I mean, today you can see the moon moving towards Venus, is in a square with Uranus. Uranus is a quite, it's a very changeable, unexpected kind of energy. I always think with Uranus, expect the unexpected. So we could see some sort of sudden flare-ups of things. Mars opposite Pluto. This really can cause a little bit of discord, a little bit of conflict. So just be really thoughtful, because this energetic is going to be present as we navigate this month, and it's like an underlying discord. So just be very conscious of this. I'll point out when other when things are potentially moving smoothly, and also when things are potentially not for you. Let's go back to my other screen. Okay, so we then reach the first quarter moon. Let me move that on for you on this screen here. So the first quarter moon is on January the 6th or 7th, depending on where you are on our beautiful planet, and this is in Aries. Now, a first quarter moon naturally invites reflection and evaluation, and it will emphasize what you need to do to overcome any obstacles that are in your way. And this first quarter moon in fiery, self-focused Aries certainly promises to deliver exactly this. It's also uniting with a very strong karmic influence. And so this moon wants you to find real solutions that remove blocks to progress and to bring healing and resolution to any areas of your world that are not running smoothly, and to take the actions needed to make this possible in real terms. Now, if any communications during this time are feeling a bit intense, remember that Pluto-Mars opposition. There can be an underlying strength of a discord or difficulty. So if anything is feeling a bit intense, or you're not entirely clear, just be sure to slow down, consciously slow down. Drop into stillness and evaluate rather than rushing ahead. The first quarter moon always invites evaluation. And be particularly aware of signs and synchronicities that are nudging you towards real practical solutions. Let's then move on to the next moon phase, which is the waxing gibbous phase. Now, the waxing gibbous phase is running from January the 8th through to the 12th, and it's going to pass through Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. So the moon is now getting bigger. We've had that evaluation point, and the moon is now building in energy and getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we head for the full moon. So the energy can generally, in real terms, start to feel more and more intense, and sometimes more and more emotional. Now, this moon phase is suggesting a series of very significant energetic steps, which then climax with a really significant karmic shift in the energy. Now, rather like a birth, sometimes you need to push and sometimes you just need to breathe. This moon phase starts with a really intense push, calling for change. Then it eases and softens quickly, favouring steady progress. So this is like push, then breathe. We then see a massive shift in the energy, which is suggesting significant progress. Then this is followed by another urge to expand, and this is fueled by emotion. So it's really expand, then breathe. The energy then moves in full flow, wanting you to achieve. So flow, go with the flow literally, and if you find yourself having any kind of wobbles, then a further underlying dynamic is present that suggests that open communications will actually help you to navigate any intensity. So really be very conscious of how sort of almost changeable this energy is during this moon phase. Let's move on and actually check out the full moon, because the full moon is actually looking to be quite an emotional one. It's a full moon in Cancer. This will be on January the 13th or 14th, depending on where you are on our beautiful planet. I'll bring those timings up in a minute, because there's real value in knowing the exact sort of peak point of the energy. We can often use it to almost to kind of breathe out. It's very, very good to be, if you're working with releasing anything. When you reach the point of the full moon, it's almost as if the energy breaks open. So if there's any tension in your world, you can literally use this to sort of almost let the moon illuminate anything that you need to see, and then kind of release. So let me tell you about the energetics of this moon. So a full moon is always associated with heightened emotions. The emotional influence of Cancer is actually going to heighten this even further. Now add to the mix some seriously intense energy that is seeking, I would say even perhaps demanding, transformation and change. On an incredibly positive note, the overall astrodynamics are favouring transformation to higher levels of consciousness through spiritual awareness. So this is fabulous, and this moon will illuminate the bigger picture and the higher perspective. However, the opening for this heightened awareness could actually feel confusing, a bit overwhelming, or arrive through unexpected events that feel really discombobulating. So if fast and unexpected shifts are exactly what you've been hoping for, then go for it. It's going to be marvellous. But if circumstances in your world are challenging, then think stillness, meditation and simplicity, and try to get still and observe rather than participate. We always have a choice, you know. The energy is what it is. The energy is the energy. Use the energy. Don't let the energy use you. If you're not sure or you're confused or things are feeling overwhelming, drop into stillness, breathe, get still, and actually see what is illuminated for you. Remember, let me bring up those timings. What I was just saying, when the moon peaks, it is as if there is this kind of build-up, and we're shown so much, and with the dynamics of this day, we really could see an awful lot of quite intense stuff. But there's a point at which we can sort of release, we can let go, we can acknowledge, we can validate, we can do something with the energy. Let me actually screen share and show you the chart for this day. Let me bring that up for you so you can see here the strength of the dynamics. Now, when the moon is full, we always have the moon sitting opposite the sun. So there's always a slight, I wouldn't say a slight intensity in the potential for discord. But the reality is the higher vibration of a full moon energy is not to create discord. It's not to create opposition. It's to show us what we need to see. Now, can you see how the sun and the moon are aligning with that Pluto-Mars dynamic? So the moon is sitting down here with Mars, and the sun is sitting up here with Pluto. So this is really, really powerful. We also have a Saturn, who's Father Time, Father Karma, talking about the structure of our lives, sitting with Venus, so our connection to relationships, to balance, to harmony, and in a square with Jupiter. Now, this is an energetic that can give you traction, but it could also feel quite frustrating. We could get frustrated with one another if people aren't seeing eye to eye. It's just a fascinating level of dynamic. Tuning in with all of this, we have Neptune, hence that wonderful opportunity for spiritual downloads, sitting increasingly close to the North Node and in a beautiful trine to the Moon and to Mars. So very, very powerful day, very, very interesting dynamics, opportunities to be shown so much. We've also got this lovely dynamic coming in here with Uranus. We've got a trine and a sextile. Uranus brings unexpected awakenings, known as the Great Awakener. So there is an energetic of potentially really seeing things that are through new eyes from a spiritual perspective, but it could be incredibly emotionally intense as well. And Neptune can sometimes bring an energy that makes us feel a little bit confused. So you can see why I'm kind of really looking at this and thinking, wow, this is a very dynamic, powerful day. If things in your world are confusing, get still, meditate, drop into stillness. Don't put yourself in the firing line. Really take time to reflect, ask for guidance, ask for illumination. I will be doing some full moon readings for you around that time, so watch out for those. We'll really be looking at we'll be tuning into these exact dynamics and really thinking about how those readings can be there to assist you, there to help you to see what's needed. Let me shift back to my other screen. Okay, so following the full moon, we moved to the waning gibbous moon phase. Now, the waning gibbous moon phase is from January the 14th through to the 20th. The moon will pass through Leo, Virgo, and into Libra. And we do have a big void of course moon when the moon is moving between signs on January the 16th. This is when the moon is moving from Leo into Virgo, and we have a 12-hour void of course period. Now, for me, the disseminating or waning gibbous moon phase tends to be a period when I find I can be potentially productive. You know, we've got through the full moon, we've got through the escalation of energy. Now, during this phase, that flavour of transformation through heightened awareness is continuing. And when the moon passes through Leo, and remember we have that 12-hour void of course period when the moon moves then from Leo to Virgo, but as the moon passes through Leo, whether you are riding high on your desired changes or you are handling challenges that are instigating change, try to take time to celebrate exactly where you are on your own evolutionary journey of personal growth. This is really helpful to get you into that mindset of positivity. Change and growth are desired, we want them. This is all about evolution, rather than feeling like change is happening to us and that we are feeling challenged by it. Because as the moon then moves through Virgo, the energy then steadies, and I think if we can sort of pause and celebrate, there's then opportunity for practical and diligent actions, so you can be quite productive. This is going to support you in real terms. So if during this time anything isn't running smoothly, it's because it's showing you something, because actually things should generally I would think in alignment with the energy flow quite well. The moon then enters Libra. Now, although there is a fleeting wave of heightened emotions, there's also the potential for an interesting kind of karmic intervention. So as the moon is flowing through Libra, be very conscious of signs and synchronicities that arrive to help you to be in balance, to find harmony and to find flow. The energy then intensifies again just before the moon reaches her last quarter position. Okay, so let's now have a look at the last quarter moon and the energetics of that, because they're quite intense actually. Now, last quarter moon is always about evaluation, and this last quarter is sitting on the cusp of Libra and Scorpio. This is bringing a really interesting kind of potential energetic shift. Now, the lunar connections are quite intense, and the overall astrodynamics suggests that information and communications could be bringing underlying issues to the surface, particularly in areas of injustice or unfairness, or any part of your world that's actually not in balance. So try to have some stillness breaks on this day and use the energy to reflect rather than react. A last quarter moon naturally invites self-reflection and self-responsibility. So this is an ideal day for reflective, honest conversations, whether this is with yourself or with others, followed through with actions and deeds that are congruent with the higher values of honesty, authenticity, healing, resolution. The lunar influence can then support you 100% in sort of stepping up and becoming the best version of you. But the dynamics are strong, so it's really about using that energy well. Let me shift to another screen and just show you the chart for this day. So you can see that the moon is squaring the sun. This is what happens at a quarter point. But the sun is very, very close to Pluto. And Pluto, I think, is all about really showing us. Pluto wants to bring things up from the depths and wants us to look at the stuff that no longer serves us. Pluto's about transformation and rebirth. So there is the potential for us to really be shown things that no longer serve us. Now, these could be internal thinking patterns, so there could be communications with yourself, or there could be communications with others where a shift is needed, basically, particularly within I guess communications, conversations, any areas of injustice. You can see that the sun is, or rather Pluto is actually a Mercury or also squaring Lilith. Lilith, the dark moon, the black moon Lilith. Lilith calls for unfairnesses to be put right. And you can see that Pluto up here is squaring Chiron, who is calling for healing, and Chiron is opposite Lilith. So there's a real, you can actually see there's a grand cross here if we then connect to that Mars energy as well. Mars and Mercury are opposite one another. Mars is also in retrograde. So we are looking at an energy of the potential, if we're using the energy well, we're looking at the potential for us to be able to review and evaluate and have real healing, valuable, honest conversations of integrity where we acknowledge what doesn't work anymore and we're prepared to do something about it. However, if we're not tuned into the higher energetic of these dynamics, we could also see some discord, and we can see a sense of unfairness or challenge. So this is absolutely a really valuable day to just step into stillness. Use the time to evaluate, look at what is going on around you if you are at all able. But top priority, respond rather than react. That would be my real absolute sort of advice and guidance for this day. Let's shift back to another screen. Okay, so following the last quarter, we move into what we call the balsamic moon phase, or the waning crescent moon phase. And the moon will pass through Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, and into Aquarius. And the moon is basically diminishing. Let me bring that up so you can see that. So she's starting to basically get smaller and smaller and smaller. So her energy is actually beginning to soften things, which is no bad thing following the intensity of that last quarter. However, let me tell you about the overall energy flow, because even though the lunar energy is diminishing, getting smaller, there's quite a lot of intensity, there really is. So despite a surge of kind of positivity right at the start of this moon phase, the first half of this period is actually particularly intense. There's a lot of other stuff going on. So if you're experiencing any discord or challenging circumstances, then back to this, be responsive rather than reactive. Try not to react impulsively or buy into any emotionally driven situations. Remember, whatever is happening, you always have a choice. You always have a choice as to how you respond. As this moon phase continues, the incoming energy does then steady considerably. And even though there may still be some underlying unsettledness, whatever is taking place is actually bringing you good information. It's sent to inform you. So try to be mindful and non-reactive. Try to be conscious and thoughtful. Observe, notice before responding. And as this period draws to a close, there's a really interesting kind of energy of the potential for divine timing. It's really indicated. And this divine timing may well bring unexpected potential solutions to the surface. So I want to say expect the unexpected and be alert and aware of potential signs, signals, and synchronicities. This is the moon phase that actually completes the moon month. As we then move on, as this moon phase ends, we reach the next new moon, which will be on January the 29th or 30th, depending on where you are. And this moon will be in Aquarius. Remember, on the 30th, there is another big void of course moon period of 11 hours, when this is after, effectively, the new moon. But I'll talk about that in next month's moon month energy update. I suggest that we now actually switch to a different camera and have a look at the cards and the runes that were drawn for this moon month. They are so interesting and so in alignment with the overall flow of energy, which, let's face it, at times is pretty intense. So here are the cards and the runes that were drawn for January 2025 in the Manifest with Moon Astro-Moon Diary. There are cards and runes for every month. They are so in tune, it is untrue. Now we have Hagalaz. Hagalaz is like Uranus, it's like the great awakener. Hagalaz suggests that things can kind of come along either unexpectedly, that maybe are there to awaken us, but it's about disruption, basically. It's quite a disruptive energy. Sometimes something can happen very suddenly, or sometimes it can indicate that we gradually realise, it's like we come to our senses and we realise that something is really, really not okay, and we cannot tolerate it any longer. The card of gossip and drama, I mean, it's just about that lower vibrational energy that we see in humanity that is not okay. And I think we have, in the intensity of the dynamics during January, the potential to see people acting out. Of course, what is really, really important is that we hold that higher ground. We don't buy into it. We don't react. We respond. You know, this card says talking behind people's backs is one of the greatest producers of negative energy, with the potential to affect not only individuals but entire communities. Make a choice not to involve yourself in this. This card also asks, if you are unable to find anything positive to say, then please say nothing at all. It really is drawing the line around that kind of stuff. I feel there is the potential to see some really challenging acting out. The key, of course, is what we ourselves do, which is to choose not to react, to choose to take a breather, take a stillness break, come up for air. Don't let anyone push your buttons, you know, or if they do, remember they're your buttons. It's up to you what you do in response. And this card, Learn to Say No, sitting with Berkana, I love this because Berkana talks about a whole new phase of growth, stepping up into the best version of ourselves, building a whole new world. It's a really powerful rune. And Learn to Say No says saying no is an act of love. When we say a healthy no to an abusive situation, whether this is in response to another person or to ourselves, we are setting limits and establishing healthy boundaries. A healthy no is saying yes to life. Give yourself permission to say no. Along with Berkana, this really is establishing an energy for 2025. I said right at the start, January is kind of setting the pace for the whole year. It's intense at times, but what we're looking at is energy that is showing us what is no longer working. If we see lower vibrational behavior, we have a choice as to what we do. This is about stepping up, holding the higher ground, living through integrity, and really making a commitment not only to do this during January, but to uphold those values right through this year of profound evolutionary growth. Really quite remarkable, I think. Let me now bring myself back up onto the screen. So, Moon Magic Super Souls. What a month. What a year. We're going to see a ton of stuff happening this year. We really, really are. So, take regular stillness breaks. Don't react, respond. Touch base with a reading. There's a ton of good, amazing readers, and hopefully you can touch base with some of my readings if they're helpful to you. I will be doing key readings at some of the points of intensity during this month, so watch out for those. Beautiful souls, we always have a choice as to how we respond to any situation. That doesn't mean it's easy. This is a year of unprecedented growth, and this month is taking us into that, into exactly that energy. I hope this is a valuable and helpful overview for you to help you to navigate the incoming energy for the coming month. I'll be doing these every month, so keep an eye out for them. Beautiful souls, thank you for being here. Thank you for walking a conscious path. You wouldn't be here tuning into this channel if you weren't. My heartfelt gratitude goes to you individually for your own pathway and also for the collective, because this is a year of transformation and change. And every single one of us can make a personal contribution literally through the way in which we navigate our own personal lives. This is where we really make a difference. Change starts with us. Beautiful souls, tons and tons of love, and I really look forward to seeing you for another video really, really soon. And if you want to get updates on some of the things I'm doing, make sure you're signed into one of my email lists. I'll put that link below. And do check out that Moon webinar. The Manifest with the Moon webinar. There's a lot of information in that about how to use the different moon phases and how to understand that energy. Tons of love, beautiful souls. I hope to see you really, really soon.